Black Desert Online, a highly popular MMORPG that we recently took a deep dive into on the channel, with the help of Wizarding's most bungling and frequently ablaze magic user, Fumbledore. In our previous look into the game, one of the points that stuck out was the game's lack of additional PVE offerings, along with the unfortunately short-lived, fully voiced plotlines for players to get stuck into. So for those not a fan of the PvP or life skills, looking to have the game massively open up during the endgame, we'll be left with not a lot of new content to get involved in to lengthen out the combat experience. A content gap that the developers clearly had on their radar, and after developers Pearl Abyss reached out to offer to sponsor another of Fumbledore's journeys into their brand new content drop that, looking into its features, looks to address a number of the points we uncovered last time around, and on the condition that we could be as critical as we liked, the stage was set. Finally tracking down our companion to see just what this PvE-focused, boss-filled overhaul of an expansion has to offer, and if it truly does introduce and expand upon highly requested features, or being a nasty surprise like literally anyone's first encounter with Fumbledore.
The Traveler looked right at me and I panicked!
Understandable. And when all is said and done, what does Black Desert Online today have to offer its players both old and new when taking this already hugely popular MMORPG up another notch? My name's Mitch Mannix, and this is a look into Black Desert Online with their brand new release, and a massive thank you to Pearl Abyss for being brave enough to sponsor this follow-up adventure into the land of morning light. With this new adventure comes with it a brand new land to conquer, with the first task being actually getting there. New players can begin their journey in the new region from level 1, but old Fumble, being the aging wizard that he is, would have to find his own way there. Making his way to the ports of Etheria, Fumble embarked on a journey across the sea in his tiny crap fishing boat to reach this new mysterious region, and spent an embarrassing amount of time sailing into the wind before finally realizing just how silly that was. But it's no surprise, as he is a silly wizard. I mean, just look how he finishes up dinner.
Dinner! Well then.
With the plan for sea travel out of scope, we turn to a far more intricate method of using the game's Magnus Realm and its unlockable teleportation powers to beam us across the land, which would require completing a lengthy questline to unlock this feature. But after a while tussling with the Magnus and making a new friend, it was finally time to begin the exploration of this new land, as Fumble reached out activating the teleportation system, casting him across the land and bursting from a well, right into the throes of a horse hydra, which surely must be one of the land's fabled boss enemies. Or well, yet just a ball of mounts, it seems. Heart rate stabilizing, Fumble took his first steps into the land of the morning light, with yet again Black Desert showcasing some of the most incredible looking visuals in the MMORPG space, giving even off the bat a beautiful depiction of this new region, inspired by the Korean Joseon dynasty period. I do however hope that some improvement can be made with the game's unfortunate heavy pop-in from characters and assets, as now and again can really take away from such stunning visuals. After meeting some of the land's inhabitants, some interesting and some a little less than conventional.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
Yes, unfortunately I can hear that. It's not long after following the introductory questline that we are shown that along with this beautiful landscape, it also comes with its share of darkness lying within. Really, Fumble? With the latest content drop comes the return of fully voiced cutscenes and dialogue to assist in telling the tales of the new region. Exploring further, we are introduced to Dulce, a surprisingly likable companion who walks Fumble through registering on the island as a foreigner, and even finding him a place to stay for the night, unfortunately leading to our hero having a bit of a fall.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
Upon waking, we come across a number of outraged villagers gathering around a corpse. Not knowing what happened, Fumble is blamed for the man's demise, due to him being practically the dictionary definition of looking suspicious. And we are thrown into the town prison, making our escape in the dead of night with a short stealth section that I really feel like they could have done more with, as opposed to these few seconds we get to experience it. As our escape continues, we are approached by and face off against the area's warden, and after a little help from our new friends, escape further inland to one of the smaller villages, where we are introduced to one of the island's most formidable foes.
We're not under the Young Gum's protection all the way out here. So keep both of your eyes peeled.
Peeled and pickled. That fearsome creature is named Sangoon, a former guardian of the land and now leading attacks on the local inhabitants. After much discussion, Fumble is gifted an orb that, once filled with the captured essences from the land's malevolence, will have the means to unlock a hidden artifact in the Tiger's Palace and potentially save the land from its evils. This introductory questline, whilst being a nice departure from the mostly unvoiced, quite low-pace feeling quests of the main game, is really a setup to introduce players into one of this expansion's core features. The Tales are 8 newly added self-contained storylines that will take players through a number of plotlines inspired by Korean folklore, with 5 more to be unlocked upon completing the first 8, and as a whole act as a great narrative package for this new region. Maybe it's me being overly cynical, or perhaps due to some of the other MMO storylines I've been covering recently, but I wasn't exactly expecting a lot narrative-wise from the Tales in this new update, but was pleasantly surprised with how well crafted and often atmospheric they can be. Each story can take an hour or two if actually looking to experience the tales told in place of rushing through the dialogue, and more often than not will include some quite memorable and well-voiced characters along the way, such as a lovable, goofy son of a village elder, who on the surface seems like the most chill guy around.
Howdy! I'm the village idiot, Undo. Or at least that's what everyone tells me.
But later discovering just how the guy truly feels about his friends and family.
Old Lady Maya, stop bragging about your grandson! I can't go to the marketplace because your stories last until the sun sets!
Each story is self-contained and gives the tales a nice digestible feeling to jump in and take on one by one, with each covering one of the land's lingering evils and potential catastrophes, such as tracking down a tortured spirit of a girl in search of her lost love, twisted and terrifying, giving off a style of a gut-wrenching Eastern horror film experience, which for me as a fan of this was highly enjoyable.
Are you the one who took my
husband away?
Or tracking down the cause of a terrible sickness causing gross boils infecting the land's population.
Wait, this isn't your average boil. No, it can't be. It's foxpox.
Foxbox, oop, someone better warn Solid Snake. It's happening again. The tasks the players will be asked to complete will mostly consist of tracking down the next NPC to progress the storyline, but does also feature some moments of taking out groups of enemies, helping in and around the local area, as well as now and again using some of the life skills to cook up or produce materials needed to progress. Oh god. Fumble. Ugh, he's cooking. I mean, what could he possibly do? And while some of the stories told are actually really compelling, it would have been nice to see a little more tasks outside of dialogue now and again, to break up some of the more conversation-heavy sections. As with the early experience working through as a new player in the previous video, it's great to see all the tales also featuring branching choices for the players to make, leading to alternative ways to conclude the storyline, with examples such as crushing the evil entities outright, or working to free them from their torment, righting the wrongs that they are so dead set on avenging. This system is not on the game-changing level of some other narrative-driven RPG experiences, but does at least go some way to make you feel like your chosen character is having an impact on this mysterious land, even when placed within an MMORPG, making Fumble's journey feel somewhat personal to him. Ooh, I can teleport. No one should ever hear of this. For those that have already looked into this update, you'll know that the narrative is far from the only content to seek out within the tales, with each also featuring and introducing its own unique boss battles, sometimes catching old Fumble by such a surprise that he resorts to his fabled Fumbledore panic boogie.
I shall feast on your liver!
Perfectly interweaved within a story, these battles are not only far more grand-feeling than most of the previous boss battles featured in the questing campaign, but also part of another content system entirely. Once each of them have been tracked down and bested once within the Tales system, that encounter will also be unlocked within the new Boss Blitz system, an additional mode centered around moving away from the repetitive grind in the usual monster zones in the game, to instead give players a chance on taking on these encounters, with each available in 10 difficulty levels, with additional bosses to be added at a later date, and with each having a time attack leaderboard included for those that want to compete for the best run against players on the server. The Boss Blitz mode also gives players a chance to earn materials used to craft top tier items, such as the current best in slot Dance Gloves, that along with being powerful also happen to look pretty badass. A far cry from our old Fumble here, but even he was able to pick up something to show off his efforts. Oh, perfect. Overall, the Land of the Morning Light content drop looks to overhaul the new player experience, whilst adding a number of PvE alternatives to mindlessly grinding away on the same mob packs for hours on end. New players can choose the new zone as their starting zone, and will have the bosses scaled to their stats to allow them to progress through the content unrestricted. The Tales system has some remarkably well-told stories to tell, but I can't see being that replayable, above perhaps possibly to seek out the alternative choices during the storyline. The new expansion comes with 2 new awakening skill lines for both Wusa and Megu. If that's not pronounced Megu, then I don't know what Wegu, granting players additional modes of destruction, and the environment really has some brilliant ambience to it, some great use of music to complement its frequently outstanding looking visuals. Here's a little bit of what I mean. Above all, I feel the boss blitz system is where I feel players will get most of the content out of the new expansion, pushing the higher tiers of difficulty and reaching for the greater rewards available. With these new additions, I still do think there is some way for Black Desert to go before it can reach the same levels from a PvE standpoint than a large number of its mmorpg competitors. But with the new storylines that honestly put a lot of other MMOs to shame, and the boss blitz modes to couple with it, now to go along with its already present group-based instances, I do also feel like the MMO is moving in the right direction if it's looking to tap into that market. And as someone who's not exactly a fan of simply grinding mobs over and over, it's a good sign that the developers are looking to provide some alternatives for those looking for something a little more dynamic to get stuck into. Safe to say, if you're a new player, and this is cliche as hell but it's true, there's never been a better time to give this one a look. And if you're interested in finding out more, then head down to the description. And a final thank you to Pearl Abyss for sponsoring this outing. And hey, you may even run into a certain scruffy wizard, although in hindsight, it will most likely be him running into you. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm keen to get your thoughts down in the comments. Please consider dropping a like on the video if you enjoyed it, as that really helps me out. And if you're into RPGs, MMOs, or hey, just a laugh or two, you're in the right place. So show that subscribe button who's boss, so you don't miss an upload. I want to give a massive shout out to the channel members who help in supporting the channel. God bless you. If you're interested in joining as a channel member for all sorts of perks, including exclusive videos, miles and miles from Fumbledore Cooking, the info is down in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Shit! Jesus, calm down! Oh dear Lord, what have I done? Standing upon his steed like a Segne, the former being mostly due to his reputation of being slightly less than accurate with his spells for unknown reasons.